Iran.
Yeah.
I'm against this.
You're against doing anything in Iran.
I am.
I want to talk to you about this. So let's do the counterfactual. So you agree the U.S. Navy was created to fight back against jihadis in the 1780s? Like, they've been a problem for 200 years, right? First of all.
Okay.
First of all, so I mean, the reason we created the U.S. Navy was because basically, like, you had Islamic forces around the Mediterranean that had been kidnapping originally, tens of millions of Europeans. Basically, there were millions of European women who were sex slaves to these people over several hundred years. This had been a thing they'd always done since the foundation of Islam. It's in the Quran. You're allowed to do it to non-Muslim women. And when our ambassador goes and says, "Listen, we're a new independent country. We're not fighting with you. We have nothing to do with this. We're just having trading ships there. Why are you taking our sailors? Like, we have nothing to do with you." By the way, there's no Israel. There's none of that fucking shit. And you know what they say? They say it's our right as a superior group. We're the Muslims, and we're going to take them. That's our right, because you're not Muslim, and so we have a right to take you and to take what we want. And that is what our holy book tells us. Like, that this is this conversation. So you look at any American founder, the first 30, 40 years of this country, they're like, these guys are fucking crazy. It's a terrible thing. Mm-hmm. And we actually literally created the Navy, and we went and we fought back, and we fucking bombed their cities. We attacked their cities. We went after the Barbary pirates. We went after the core empires there that were doing this to us, and beat the shit out of them. And it was the right thing to do, because they were stealing thousands of our soldiers or thousands of our sailors. Mm-hmm. You would kill and get away with that, right? So first of all, it was right to do that. I'd assume you'd say, based on what I said, like 200 years ago, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. And so listen today, what it is. So you get a relatively modern country, like, conquered and raped by this crazy theocracy. Same exact type of guys as 200 years ago. These are guys that are taking what they want, raping, killing. I'm sure you've seen.
Joe, you don't have to tell me about how
you agree they're evil.
Iranians
You agree they're evil. Okay, so you agree they're evil. So
they've killed more of my fucking friends than probably anybody else.
Okay, so give that.
They fucking hung dudes off bridges.
They're doing it, and they're spreading their money to Venezuela. We caught them building things there. We caught them building things all around Africa. Obviously, they destroyed the Christian country of Lebanon. They're doing all sorts of other bad stuff. Now we know, thanks to this war, by the way, we now know they were lying. They did have missiles they were building. They could go 4,000 kilometers. So they're going to have basically crazy jihadis. We know they're building nukes at this point. They had 11 bombs they were going to have. That was their starting point in their negotiations. We have materials for 11 bombs. So Jared and Witkoff are sitting there. This administration is sitting there being told, we have 11 bombs you can't get rid of. That's where we are. And now we know that they could hold all of Europe hostage, and they were obviously working to make that go to the U.S. They obviously could go to Russia. So we now know they could hold. So do you really want so you do nothing for 10, 20 years. You have like tons of nukes. You have missiles that can go to every Western city, and you have crazy jihadis who don't care if they die in battle as long as they can destroy their Death to America pledge because they're so obsessed with it. This is not this Death to America existed long before any of this stuff in the modern age in Israel. So that's the counterfactual. 20 years from now, our kids, our children, are in a world where it's the nuclear-armed guys with crazy missiles, with whatever else AI and China stuff they have that they've now used. By the way, we're way ahead of them right now in AI, way fucking ahead of them in AI. We are not necessarily going to be way ahead of them in 20 years. I don't know where we're going to be. But right now, there's a giant gap. Like, we are way ahead of them. So it's like we can move now when we're way ahead and they can hurt us this much, or we could wait till God knows what happens when they're nuclear-armed jihadis who can threaten anywhere in the West. I mean, the thing is, I 100% agree. It's like risky and dangerous and tough to act. It's very scary. I think it's much scarier just to let it go for 10, 20 years with these fuckers. That's my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I've not been presented with any proof that they have those type of weapons. And I haven't even seen proof that whatever the missile is that they launched is from them.
You think there's a false flag launch from Iran?
I have no fucking idea. I did not say that.
No,
I just said there hasn't been any proof. And it's getting hard. It's just getting hard to believe the administration. I mean, there's been a lot of bait and switches that have happened within a lot of different areas. I mean, for example, the interview I threw out yesterday was about glyphosate and all the cancer it's causing. And you're familiar with the MAHA movement. It was make America healthy again, and we're going to get rid of all this shit. And then they just fucking declared a national security concern for if we don't give the pesticide companies immunity, glyphosate. And they called it, they called it a national security concern. Well, for example, Iowa has the most cancer cases out of every state in the fucking USA. You know who uses the most glyphosate?
Yeah, obviously
Iowa.
the corn there in Iowa.
618,000 people died of cancer last year in the U.S. Why are we giving them immunity? But anyways, that's just one example.
Yeah, no. Listen, I think that's a particular one where I think there should be more open debate from the administration on it and discussion of it. I think I listen. I know Brooke Rollins for a long time in the policy world. I think she's a really smart lady. She did some really impressive things fighting the left in Texas when she ran TPPF. She's now the agriculture secretary. That's her call. I think it'd be great you should get her on the show. I can invite her. I can text her if you want. Let's see what she says. No, I'm serious.
Her up.
I'm serious. Why not? Like, I don't know. I feel like she'd have a lot of respect for a lot of things you do.
Cool.
And a lot of things you've done in your service. So I think that's a fair debate. I'm not an expert on that one, but I think we should be debating it openly. And I'd love to hear the smartest people on both sides. And I think if they're just ignoring it when so many people believe as you do, that's not appropriate. So let's engage on it. That'd be what I say.
That was. I didn't mean to dive into that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But you're saying you don't trust. You're saying you don't trust someone where they're coming from.
When I saw the release of the Epstein files and how that got butchered and how it continues to get butchered, that shit really pissed me off, man. And then and
by the way, I never met the guy. I agree. He was a slimeball who seemed to know everyone because he was really good at networking and meeting people and tricking them to meet him. Mm-hmm. I don't think everyone involved was like messing with kids. Like I
don't either.
Yeah, right. So a lot of people just like.
But I think it's pretty obvious that some people involved were messing.
I think some people were at the very least, a lot of people were messing with 21 and 22-year-old girls, and I think some of them might have been underage. And I don't know because I never met the guy, and he was a bad guy. But these other people, I just don't know. But I'm curious. Like what should they do on it to rebuild trust there? Actually, that's one I don't really follow at all.
What should they do to rebuild trust?
Yeah. How do we
transparent? I think that's all anybody wants is just transparency, and they want to see. We heard it over and over again. We're going to go after these people. We've heard so much about
I agree
the
with
voting
you
fraud. We haven't heard fuck all about
that. I agree. Why is the DOJ right now and the FBI are both really hurting the reputation of this administration because they're not going after and getting enough arrests right now and getting enough cases. I think that is 100% true. I listen. I was talking to our friends there who are focused on fraud. There's a ton of fraud. We're helping them find. I'm obsessed with this issue. I think there's way more fraud in this country than anyone realizes. We have to start making more charges and arrests. And it's like way too slow. Like someone, and I don't know. They can't find the right people to run it. It's embarrassing. That part pisses me off.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's just all these things that have happened that I've lost a lot of trust.
You shouldn't trust the bad guys running Iran either. Though you also agree.
I don't trust the bad guys running Iran, and I don't necessarily think I would be against the war in Iran
if they presented it to you in a different way.
If they presented it to me in a different way, but. Sure. Like all the stuff you're saying, yes, it's true. Yes, it's my fucking friends that died over there. Yeah. I saw it. They're my friends. I don't want to send my fucking kid back over there to die.
Yep.
For any of this shit.
Yeah.
We spent over 20 fucking years.
Yeah. Well, I think the way Afghanistan was run was just a travesty. We wasted trillions of dollars, and everyone should be pissed off about it. And so, I think that has created distrust that is fair to exist. There should be distrust after we wasted all his lives and all his money with not real clear aims. So I 100% agree with that perspective. I have some mentors who ran British intelligence 20, 30 years ago. And I know these guys still pretty well because they were always with Palantir. We got to know a bunch of them. They thought we were kind of like a Aboriginal species. They're visiting in Silicon Valley versus like MI6, right? These guys are cool. And a couple of them have told me that they thought that a lot of the stuff that got us to go into Iraq, because we kind of already wanted to go into Iraq, obviously, but they thought some of the evidence, like including from Chalabi, who was an Iranian spy, like purposely came from Iran, even at that time. And what's interesting is even at that time, in my understanding, I went back and looked at it, like a lot of the top voices out of like our ally in Israel were saying Iran's the big problem, not Iraq. So a lot of people are saying, oh, we fought Iraq for Israel. I don't think that's the case. I think in that particular instance, like Iran was very clever in getting us to focus more on Iraq, and even back then, I think they were the bad guys. So,
interesting.
For what it's worth, I think they're clearly the worst, and I'm very happy a lot of them are dead. But I 100% understand where you're coming from, not wanting to trust and not wanting to put more people over there.
Do you think we're fighting Iran for our own benefit, or do you think we're fighting Iran for Israel's benefit?
Oh, I think it's definitely our own benefit. I think this is, by the way, China is like freaking pissed. You know, China sent several $billions of stuff with cargo planes to Iran that they were in the process of setting up to help defend them. This is their proxy ally. Like, their allies are Russia and Iran. They want Iran to exist and be able to cause trouble, to like distract us and force us to split our forces if we ever have to deal with anything they might want to do. This is like a chess game where they're trying to build this ally, and we just smash their ally. And by the way, you know who the strongest military in the world is right now? It's us. And because we're basically deploying all this new technology and all this new AI in ways that no one else is, we're learning how to make interceptors way cheaper. We're learning how to just coordinate all these things we never would have learned before. China has no idea how to do this stuff. Like, I'm not saying you want to fight wars to get better, but this makes us so much stronger to smash their proxy ally, to smash their stuff, and to learn how to use all this technology. Like, this makes them a lot harder to challenge us for the next.
You want to talk
20 years.
about how AI's what
sure.
we're using over there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, from what I can say, and listen, I don't have my full clearances at this point anymore either, but I have a lot of friends on both sides, and you know, we developed a lot of the targeting stuff at Palantir back in the day. Combined with AI, basically. I mean, just think about it. For sake of argument, we know Israel and America both have some of the best hackers, and so let's say you hacked in to the street cameras. Let's say you hacked into, logistics in the country and who was sending what where, like what payments are happening, just all sorts of things you basically can view. Look at emails, look where everyone is. It's so much information. How would a person look at these millions of pieces of data and figure out what's going on? AI is really, really good at that. So Palantir and a system like that will create what's called the ontology, like, okay, like the concepts, the frameworks. Here's the things we care about. Here's how they can possibly relate to each other. And then you take that ontology, you take that structure of how to think about things, and you overlay like just insane amounts of information we're able to get in different ways through human intelligence, through signal intelligence, through hacking. And then all of a sudden, it's able to optimize and say, like, here's this base you didn't know about storing all these munitions. Here's this key part of the command center. Here's this thing over here, 300 miles outside of Tehran, you never would have thought about. That's like a backup for the supply for this key part of their missile launchers. Things like that. And all of a sudden, like, so when Israel in the first start of the war, like, sends 200 planes as a surprise attack and they hit 500 targets in the first 20 minutes. Those targets were optimized between the two countries. And here's the things that we know we need to get rid of if we want to stop them from causing us more problems. So, I mean, it's just really, really powerful how smart what we could do is, that we couldn't do before.
Interesting. What else should we talk about that's going on over there?
Over there?
Yeah.
It's
Worries about you. What are you worried about with the Strait of Hormuz? You worried about that at all?
and this, this is a tough one. I am worried. Listen, I think this is one of those things that could take a few weeks and it could take a few months, and it's really, really hard to stop asymmetric attacks, right? Because so the Iranian, and listen, this is one step removed. I don't have the exact information, but you have these mountains that they're firing out of, right? And it's amazing because as far as we could tell, so what'll happen is they have railroads underground that are way under the granite, and they have tons of missiles there. It's not about how many missiles they have, it's about how many launchers. And they have launchers, and the launcher will come out and it'll go out the railroad to an opening like a cave. It'll fire, and then it'll hurry back in, and we'll see where it fired from. And you could destroy that so they can never use that again for a long time without spending, months digging out because you just bomb the hell out of it. But then they just go out another cave and another cave. And these guys have apparently built hundreds of these caves. It's actually impressive.
Wow.
Right? It's like they've been preparing for 20, 30 years for this. Yep. And so they have these mountains that they're firing out of. And then you have all along the Strait of Hormuz, you can hide drones, right? You can hide all sorts of things in hundreds of locations that each time it's a new attack, a new location. So it could take a while to find all of it, right?
Yep.
It's not easy. And it's not, listen, it's especially bad for Europe who turned off their energy economy. You want to talk about conspiracies, man? Europe let Gazprom and Russia fund the green movement and turn off all their goddamn energy. And that's why they're in so much pain right now from this.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
That's a true conspiracy, by the way. 100%. We've found that it was a ton of Russia money that created the strength of the green parties all around Europe. And their main thing was turning off all their energy.
No shit.
100%. 100%. Russia's not dumb. This is great for them, right? It's great for the Middle East, too. The green parties are useful idiots, man.
Does it bother you that we're low on munitions?
There are some munitions we're not low on, and there's some interceptor things that we could use a lot more of. Listen, I think America is going to be in a lot better position after experiencing this. So, one of our companies called Chaos has by far the best radar that they're monetizing, but the guy running it, who helped build Epirus as well, the EMP company, he's figured out how to do $5,000 interceptors now.
What?
He just proved it. Did a bunch of things last month. We're going to make thousands of them this year. We're going to make hopefully hundreds of thousands next year. I mean, America is going to be so strong coming out of this because we're learning and we're iterating and we're getting better. And it definitely bothers me that we had to waste like millions of dollars per shot on some stupid interceptors. That was dumb, but that's because the primes are idiots. We're just going to fix it for them. Totally honestly,
Right on.
Let's just make it better.